It's finally here. Donald J. Trump is back in the White House. Man, it seems like forever ago that we were had him in the White House, and it's been a long 4 years. If you believe about that, like I do, it's definitely been a long 4 years. So we want to talk about today how this can impact your upcoming retirement. If you're in your 50s, you may be a few years out, but maybe not. And but if you've been planning it for the next two or three, what could this upcoming, this new presidential policies, all the things that he's doing on day one and in the next years to come, how are they going to impact potential retirement decisions? Do you go ahead and do it now? I get this question a lot because people are very optimistic. In fact, it's amazing the things that have happened before he's even become president. But we also need to look at historical trends. I don't know they all apply in the way they have in the past. Typically, when someone's getting elected president, markets are a little weary. They don't really know what direction they may take the country because they have no thoughts on that yet. Think about it. If a president has been in for 4 years, in the upcoming term, they typically know if they got reelected what's going to happen. But in the case where it's one president leaving and another one coming, markets typically react a little weird about that because they're not sure what direction they're going to take. This isn't the case at all. We know exactly. Donald Trump has told us, President Donald Trump, I love saying that, has told us exactly what he plans on doing. And I really think in 24, the markets responded to that. I think long before the election, they had already bet that he was going to beat Kamala Harris. And I think they had expected that, and the market showed it with great optimism. And then when it happened, we saw even more. And 24 was a pretty darn good year. As we head into 25, does that mean it's just going to be smooth running? Markets are going to continue to expand and everything's going to be great? Yeah, here's the thing. I don't know that that's even possible. It's been a long time since we had a market downturn. Do not take that as I'm expecting one. But we know markets are cyclical and they will happen. And we want to make sure if you're the one that is headed into retirement in 2025, 6 or 7, you're within that 5-year time horizon, let's say, of pulling the trigger. While there could be great gains to be made, I think preserving what you've worked so hard for could be more important than great gains. If you feel like you're behind in retirement savings and you want to accelerate it because you see you're enthusiastic and you want to see this, a lot of times people become aggressive right before retirement, and that's a terrible idea in my opinion. Look, sometimes just moderately, the tortoise and the hare, remember the tortoise won the race. So especially when you're this close to the finish line. But there are some things that we need to talk about of how anyone's upcoming, the new election, the new presidency that we now have could affect your dollars. So the things that come up, like when you look at this, is we have to discuss Social Security. Let's start with that one. And why? Why do I say Social Security? Because that becomes a foundation for your retirement, the baseline, the big thing. Well, we know the system's broke, and they've been talking about it for a long time, but it's never had true Social Security reform yet. And I believe we're going to see it during your retirement for sure. It has to happen. The CBO, Congressional Budget Office, has already put out a report saying in 2034 they're going to have to start cutting Social Security and things like that. Now, is that really going to happen? I'm not so sure about that, especially for the people that are already taking it. But I think there will have to be Social Security reform. For the younger people watching right now, yeah, you may have to wait till you're 75 to even start Social Security. Who knows what they're going to do? But for people in my age group or those that are already receiving Social Security and stuff, I think the changes will be smaller, if any at all, if you're already on Social Security. I think about going and cutting people's Social Security when they're already living on it, barely trying to survive sometimes. I just don't see that happening. I don't think anyone's going to do that, but there is going to have to be changes made. But one of the things I want to think about is what if Donald Trump can get through Congress what he said he wants to do, which is stop taxing your Social Security. Wouldn't that be amazing? It's been a long time, but we did have an America where Social Security wasn't taxed once, and it's been a very long time. I'd love to see that happen again. I think I know how many dollars I have worked and made over my lifetime and how much I've paid into that system. I would love to think that when I start withdrawing my money, I wouldn't have to pay tax on it. Wouldn't that be great? So there's that to think about. What about this? Yeah, markets may do well in this economy that we see, but inflation. Is Donald Trump and the decisions he's going to make and his great team around him going to be able to control and get inflation down. Look, regardless of how you feel, I want to be very clear about this. In my opinion, he was left a mess, an absolute mess. It's been the toughest 4 years, and I would have said taking over what President Biden had done, taking over, he couldn't have screwed it up that fast, but in my opinion, he certainly did. So now, how is inflation going to go? I do believe in the drill, baby, drill. I think he's right on that. And that doesn't mean that I don't embrace economic conditions and climate conditions and things like that. When I say embrace them, what I mean is, yes, I want to have grandchildren one day. I don't have them yet, but I want them. And I would love to think I leave them in America, in a world that is healthier and safer than the one that I got when I was born. But we have to build some kind of a bridge to get us there. EV cars, personally, I think are amazing. I've owned a couple of Teslas. They were phenomenal. I still like a gas engine. I still like a combustion engine. But when I think about the economic damage that's being done by EV cars and the building of them, I'm not sure that's the answer. But I can tell you this, right now, today, there's nothing we go consume, purchase, buy, eat that wasn't shipped, brought, done something with that had to do with oil. Think about that. The quickest way, in my opinion, to get inflation back under line is get these gas prices back where they were. So is he going to be able to get that done? And how quickly can that take effect? And how will that help? So we have to think about what inflation is going to look like in 2025, 26, 27, and how that could impact your retirement dollars. Now, taxation, I will tell you, I think we got a big, big win here, because one of his first things is hopefully going to get his tax plan either to stay the way it is or potentially even cut and make it even better. But that 4-year reprieve that we should be getting very soon is everything when you think about this, because the tax window was closing, and I promise you, had Kamala Harris gotten in, taxes would have gone up. And so you had the last 4 years, one of the best tax environments possible, 5 years, with that Donald Trump tax plan. And your advisor, your big box retailer, should have been talking to you each and every year around September, October about how much you could get out of that 401, 403 IRA and put into a Roth or a 7702 plan, and how the potential savings could be. And you should have been converting money, doing in-service withdrawals, getting this money converted, getting it into a Roth, so that you now have an account you own. So many people find 80, 90% of all the money they have, their investable assets, is in a 401, 403, and they've never paid tax on it. Sounds like you might be rich, but then tell me how much taxes are going to be in 20 years. What's going to cost you to get that money out of those accounts and into your hands? So those are things that definitely need to be looked at right now in 2025 and 26, because you got a big reprieve. What about this? What about your lifestyle planning? So let's say you are going to take advantage of the markets that we find ourselves in. But where's the income plan? Where's your written income plan that tells you how much you can spend in retirement every single month, after taxation, adjusted for inflation, and not run out of money? Now, look, I love dividend-paying stocks, but keep in mind, that's not a plan. I love them, but they're not guaranteed. I don't care what the company is. It's not guaranteed. I think everyone deserves an income plan with contractually guaranteed money in it, pensions. You say, well, Mark, I worked for a company that didn't give me a pension. Then we're going to have to create one for you, and there are ways to do this. But again, when we get a new president, so many things are going to go on. So many things are happening fast. We want to take advantage of the opportunities that are going to present themselves. And this is why you need to have a written plan done by a certified financial planner. You know, when you think about retirement, Living Large radio and television that airs every week talks so much about the idea that retirement is more than just finance. You kind of got to get it all right. Faith, family, fitness, finance, friends. You got to get all those correct. Well, today we're talking about the new election, the new president, and how this could impact your dollars. Well, let's be very clear. These policies should positively impact your dollars in a positive way. But listen, I think we were at one point maybe on the precipice of World War III. I mean, a lot of talk was going on about that under the Biden administration. Well, understand, something like that breaks out, and regardless of who's president, it's going to affect your dollars. So where you're at on the timeline plays a big, big part of this. If you're in retirement, you've got to put yourself in a position to where no matter what happens, you can stay retired. If you're 5 years away, think about all those people back in 07, 08 that were going to retire in 2 or 3 years and then weren't able to. Think about the people that retired in 08 that had to go back to work. We don't want something like that to ever happen. So again, there's many things that can be done, but it has to be done through the lens of the environment we find ourselves in, meaning you're 65 and you want to retire. You can't operate like a 30-year-old. You're 55 and you want to retire in 5 years. Okay, a little different. You're already retired. Totally different. You're 40. You need to be aggressive as heck, in my opinion. Why? I think it's going to be a great time to be in the markets. Let's go. Doesn't mean you won't get a downturn because of the things we discussed. It just means it's a good time to be in the markets. Hey, the bottom line is everyone deserves to have a confident financial future. Take the rose-colored glasses off, and let's start digging in deep and building plans that can help you retire successfully. Remember, it's not about the number. It's about doing retirement the way you want to do it, to live large, which is building a plan that works for you. Hey, let's be clear. If you liked this content, or even if you didn't, go ahead and subscribe because it helps me. Bottom line is this: it's 2025 and it's time to take charge of your financial future. Get started on that today.